Hello, welcome back to the Watford Way in very different circumstances and very different surroundings. Today, I'm reporting to you from my hotel room in Spain. I'm on holiday for the next week or so, trying to enjoy myself and relax away from Watford and what has been a very up and down season. Unfortunately, though, we've seen the breaking major news today that Tom Cleverley has lost his job. And whilst I'll do a much more in-depth video when I get back to the UK, because I don't believe they will announce his successor, at least for a few days, I'm shocked, I'm in disbelief, I'm angry. I feel like I'm mourning the death of a loved one. I loved Tom Cleverley. I thought he was exactly the right person and personality to lead Watford in the future seasons. The project we were building under him, for me, had a lot of potential to grow and be something bigger than maybe even himself. And for Watford to make this decision today, for me, is devastating. If people weren't Pozzo out already, I imagine they probably are now, although there are still a small minority. I don't know how, but there are still a small minority out there who do support what Gino Pozzo does. But I've got a notepad in front of me today, and I'm just going to talk through some brief talking points really about how this all came about and what the future is for Watford Football Club and my support of, well, I don't have any support of the current regime, but my real support for the football club going forward. So we'll start with Scott Duxbury, because he is the Chief Executive Officer at Watford. He's the CEO. He's in arguably the highest position possible you can get other than being the owner of the football club. And for me, whilst Scott Duxbury may disagree with this decision because he appointed Tom Cleverley, he's openly come out in interviews and confirmed that himself. Whilst he might disagree, he clearly has no authority in his role. What is the point of a CEO at the football club if they cannot challenge the decision of an owner? Most people know this decision is ludicrous. It's the wrong thing to do. Yet Scott Duxbury, time and time again, is sitting on an extraordinarily high salary. And for me, he's getting away with murder. So Scott Duxbury, if you have any morals about you or any backbone, you should immediately resign from your position, because clearly, regardless of what you do, you have no authority whilst Gino Pozzo is in charge. So as far as I'm concerned, Scott Duxbury can get lost, even if he didn't disagree with the decision. Juan Lucani is the next person I want to talk about today, because he is the name behind the official club statement on the Watford website. I'm not going to repeat it for you now, because I'm sure most, if not all of you, have read through that. What I found baffling about the statement was a sentence where it said, "We need to build on the progress we've made with a young and talented squad." Yet we've sacked a young and talented manager in Tom Cleverley. Do you not want to develop both at the same time? Surely that's common sense. I mean, my mind is blown. My mind is blown. Juan Lucani, as far as I'm concerned, you can get lost as well, because what connection does he have to Watford other than being an Italian friend of Gino's? I mean, I'd never heard of the bloke until he rocked up for the second time a year or so ago. The guy's a joke. The interviews he gives publicly are strange. They're weird. The communication from him is bizarre. The non-announcement of the Tikvich deal months ago was weird. Juan Lucani, you should be ashamed of yourself, and you've made a lot of Watford fans very unhappy. Gino Pozzo, my word, how am I going to sum this up in a few sentences? You are, my friend, absolutely shameless. You're a despicable man, and at the end of the game, when Tom Cleverley and the Watford squad were doing their lap of honour, I spent a couple of minutes looking over to my left towards the director's box. Now, if you guys don't know, I sit in the upper Graham Taylor stand, very close to hospitality and where a lot of big names sit, celebrities, players, families, etc. I sit pretty close to them seats, as close as you can get as a normal supporter, if you will. And I spent 2 or 3 minutes watching Gino Pozzo and his reactions after that Sheffield Wednesday draw on the last game of the season. And he was happy, he was smiling, he looked very pleased actually with what he saw was my general feeling just watching his facial expressions. He was shaking hands with the people around him, including Mogi Bayat, who was also present at the game, I must add. You're shameless. You're a shameless individual. I am ashamed to have you as the owner of my football club. The situation we're in is insane. It's insane. What did Gino Pozzo expect for this season? Now, I don't know internally at the club what their goals were. When Scott Duxbury spoke to a number of fan groups earlier this season, he said there was no real goal for this season. It was just to basically make the place happy again, get the positive vibes back at Watford FC. And in the first half of the season, I feel we did that. And even in the second half of the season, through defeats, I still felt the fans were in good spirits and very much behind the manager and this young, talented group of players. And to sack him after the progress we've made with Vata, Barr, Doumbia, Pollock, the list goes on, Duomo you could even include in that. To sack him is an abomination. I don't have any more adjectives actually in my vocab, so I better get my thesaurus out. But you guys know my feelings on Gino Pozzo. The guy shouldn't be here anymore. I've got a feeling he'll be here for a long time to come because there doesn't seem to be any offers. Hopefully Anthony Joshua hurries up and puts in an offer with some sort of Middle Eastern consortium, because yeah, it's a dark day to be a Watford fan today. In terms of favourites for the jobs, the early bookies favourites are for Alberto Garrido, who is Tom Cleverley's assistant. You might remember he joined from Real Madrid B, I think it was, in the summer, as part of like that major change to Tom's coaching setup. So he's the current bookies favourite. The second and third favourite managers for the job are Gary O'Neill and Sean Dyche. I mean, I'm not quite sure where the bookies have got them odds from, but in what world is Gary O'Neill, who again is quite a young, promising English manager, in what world is he going to come and join Watford? I've got absolutely no idea. And Sean Dyche, from what I know, he doesn't have a very good relationship with the Pozzos. So yeah, them odds are very bizarre. The last talking point I want to discuss is the timing of this, because for me, this has clearly been in the works for quite a significant amount of time. There was rumours in January, anyway, that Watford were going to sack Tom. It appears from rumours and speculation that Gino Pozzo had a last-minute change of heart and was convinced by Duxbury, who really appointed Tom. He was convinced by Duxbury to change his decision. Of course, the rumours were that we were going to appoint Spanish head coach Pacheta. There are very strong rumours. There was a lot of people who were saying it was almost a done deal. And yeah, to see this happen now is no real surprise. I said in a previous video actually that whilst I want Tom to stay, my gut feeling was that because of that run of form post-January, post-Christmas, knowing Gino's history, I think he was going to pull the trigger, and we've seen exactly that happen. We shouldn't be surprised as Watford fans. We've had Gino Pozzo here for well over a decade now. We know how he operates. It's the norm in Italian football. For Italian clubs, they sack managers on the regular. Italian coaches go back to previous clubs very often. It's the norm over in that country. But for English football, this isn't normal. It's very strange. And I think Gino Pozzo might have bipolar because, I'm completely baffled. In terms of the timing as well, what I find most scummy about this, actually, from a financial perspective, is that season ticket renewals only closed 48 hours ago. So they've gone, you know what? Let's get all their season ticket money in on the basis Tom Cleverley will be here next season, because that's exactly what I've done. And maybe I'm naive, who knows? But that's exactly what I've done. They've gone, let's get all the money in, pretend Tom Cleverley will be head coach next season. We've got a young squad, challenge for the playoffs, etc., etc. And once I've got that money, once the renewals have shut, once we've all paid, they've sacked him. I mean, I find that probably one of the most scummiest things you could do as a football club. It's a disgrace, and everybody involved should be ashamed. So I'm going to leave it there. As I said, I'm going to do a more in-depth video, obviously, when we appoint a new manager, which my gut feeling is it won't happen immediately. I think out of respect, hopefully for Tom, they'll leave it a week or so, at least. So I'll do a deep dive on who the new manager will be. And I'm also going to do a more in-depth reaction video on the situation as a whole, because I'd quite like to enjoy my holiday in peace without another Watford sacking. So I'm going to leave it there from a very sunburnt James out here in sunny Spain. I hope you can enjoy the rest of your day in what has been a very dark day for Watford FC. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.